What's up, everybody? If you're in the stream and you saw the thumbnail, you know exactly why you're here. And we are doing this, guys. I'm going to be shifting a lot of my content, and I've already shifted a lot of my content to focus on the issue of Father James Martin. And I don't mean just him as the person, but I mean this epidemic of acceptance, of tolerance of sin that has infested many layers of Catholic leadership. And I'm sure for most of you guys, for most Catholic lay people, it's concerning. On a day-to-day basis, I know lots of Catholics. I do not meet a lot of Catholics who are like, I love what the church is doing with their pastoral approach to homosexuality. This isn't the Catholics that are doing this. This seems to be systemic. It seems to be in the leadership, and it's a problem. And it seems like, at least for now, that our leadership is not doing a whole lot about this. And as Catholics, we need to reinforce, as lay Catholics, we need to reinforce that this is not appropriate, that we will not accept this. Don't let the multiplicity of Catholic organizations that teach this kind of stuff make you think that this is becoming more and more acceptable. It's not. And from my perspective, the greatest hope we have is the new generation of Catholics that are coming up. They seem to be more conservative. They seem to want more conservative liturgy. They're tired of guitar mass. And I'm right there with them, and I'm thankful for that. I'm not saying everybody in the new generation of Catholics is like that. I'm just saying it seems to be heavily saturated, more so than normal, with that kind of thought. And that's a good thing. And I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll be an old man before I see this pay off, but at least I'll still be alive. Now, the thumbnail made it pretty obvious as to who we're talking about. We're talking about Father James Martin in this stream. And I've been doing some research. I've been working really hard at tracing kind of the history of homosexuality in the Catholic Church, starting in like the 40s, the 1940s. This is not really an old problem. This isn't something the church has been dealing with for a long time. This is something the church has recently struggled with, like in the last 80 years, and it really shows, and so I've been doing a lot of research, and I got in my research to Father James Martin, and I looked at his website, and his website is really telling. And let me tell you something about Father James Martin before I pull his website up on the stream. I don't say this lightly. He reminds me of Pelagius. Now, I don't have all the details regarding Pelagius like at the forefront of my mind, but in history, you kind of see Pelagius being a slippery character. He's always preaching heresy by proxy. And I don't have the name sorted in my head, but I know he had a friend, a companion, that by proxy, he would preach his heresy through him. So that when the church would grill him on these things, like, are you a heretic? Are you preaching this? And at least somewhat of a good conscience, he could say, no, it's not me. Although we both know that wasn't a good conscience. Now, Father James Martin is slippery like that. It doesn't seem like he's willing to come out and make direct statements that are in opposition to clear church teaching. But what is clear is he's perfectly willing to associate with people who have dissented from the church. And one of these people, or one of these organizations that he clearly associates with, which have dissented from the church, or which has dissented from the church, would be newwaysministry.org. Okay, New Ways Ministry. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with New Ways Ministry. It's one of the many Catholic organizations that have rejected the church's teaching on sexuality. And at some point, it's fair for us to ask, do you even want to be Catholic? Like, or what's the point of you being Catholic? Are you sure you want to be Catholic? Because the church's sexual ethic is not just something that separates us from the world. It's something that separates us from the rest of Christendom, from the rest of the invisible church, from the rest of baptized Lutherans and Baptists, your Protestants, even your Orthodox, is that the Catholic Church is the strictest on sexual ethic, at least on paper, right? The teachings of the Catholic Church are clear and they are rigorous, and on paper we're the strictest on this issue. But it seems that in the clergy we're kind of not super strict on this issue at all, and it's a problem. And just because we have bad clergy that come and they don't quite see eye to eye with the church and they're somehow not excommunicated, doesn't mean it's okay for us to get on this bandwagon. It's inappropriate entirely. And so what I wanted to do with this stream, I mean, it's going to be a short stream, guys, and I hope you can appreciate that. I just want to give you guys something. And I don't want to give you nothing but doom and gloom. So we're going to be talking a little bit about something in the church that I really like that happened recently. But for now, at least, we're going to pull up newwaysministry.faith. It's not .org, it's not .com, it's not .edu, it's .faith. I didn't know you could do that. But anyways, this is Father James Martin's website. His ministry is just called Outreach. You can see, I don't know, I don't have my glasses on, so it's hard for me to see. But it says an LGBTQ Catholic ministry, okay? So if you look down, there's not a whole lot on this front page, but you've got these little bars up here. If you click down, you got Outreach Conference, About Us, News and Views, Resources. All right, where I'm leading you guys is on resources. Now, I hope you guys can agree that if a website is giving you what they call resources, this is not a list of things they disagree with. This is a list of things that they think will be helpful for you. Some of this stuff I can't read, not because I get banned, but because not all of it is in English. Okay? But, like right here, it's not in English, but there's one right here. Bingo. Can you guys see that? The article is called, "As a Catholic Doctor, I know gender affirming care is essential for transgender youth." A lot of you guys are aware of Father James Martin. A lot of you guys are wondering, why has he not been excommunicated because of what you've heard? But a lot of you guys have not taken the time to actually deeply look into the issue, partly because it's embarrassing. And oh boy, it didn't actually click over when I clicked on it. My bad, guys. I'm gonna present that one too. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull up that screen. Here we go. Yeah, a lot of you guys have not really looked into it because it is really embarrassing. Like, you kind of want to ignore that. You want to focus on the stuff in the church that's happening that's really good. And there are a lot of amazing things happening in the church, but this is definitely not one of them. And so I think a lot of people are offended by the likes of Father James Martin, but they're not 100% sure why, at least from a firsthand perspective. And I want to give that to you. I want to make your displeasure pointed and educated. So this is literally linked to on his website. And this is what I'm talking about how he kind of preaches heresy by proxy. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't think you guys showed up just to listen to me read a whole article, but I wanted to read like at least the first paragraph and maybe the second. Yeah, probably the first and second paragraph. But this is a doctor who considers herself, she's using a pseudonym. The pseudonym she chose is Mary DeAngelis. And so I'm assuming this is an anonymous woman. Okay, this is what she says. "I'm a pediatric endocrinologist who works in a gender clinic at a major U.S. teaching hospital." Now, you guys who don't know, and maybe I don't know, I'm pretty sure endocrinologist is somebody who works with hormones. She says, "I am writing this article anonymously because medical providers who take care of transgender youth are being targeted by those who oppose what we do. And people should oppose what they do, and they should be worried about their safety when they prey on children. I'm not supporting terrorism. I'm not supporting any of that kind of thing. I'm not telling you to go out and do any of that stuff. I'm not telling you that with a wink either. I'm a Catholic, and I believe in Catholic social teaching and the dignity of the human life. And so I'm not for that kind of thing." But she continues, "My safety and that of my colleagues is at risk. Unfortunately, many of us have received vicious emails, and we have experienced a few incidents of individuals coming into our clinics to disrupt our work. Many gender programs in this country have been forced to close due to laws that ban transgender care for persons under 18 years of age. Close as many of them as you can. Because I am a Catholic physician," she's not Catholic. She just attends a Catholic church. She's not Catholic. You can't be Catholic and actually affirm this stuff. "I spent many hours discerning whether it was morally acceptable to treat these children. I view relieving suffering as my duty as a physician. These children are clearly suffering. They have had an extremely high incidence of depression, suicide, got to say that, and self-harm. 82% of transgender individuals have considered suicide, and 40% have attempted it, with suicidality highest among transgender youth. It's crazy you got to say it like that. This risk is significantly reduced with supportive care and medical mental health intervention. I have seen this turn around repeatedly in my practice. The work that I do is affirmed by prominent medical societies, including the Endocrine Society, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. You can read the rest of this. The rest of this, she's just trying to inform you on gender affirming care. Now, I want to make this clear. She's not a surgeon. She's not, she's not performing sex change operations. She's simply giving hormone therapy. And so I'm not reducing how bad this is, because obviously it's an absolute terror on our society. But you need to pay attention to some things that she's saying. All right. For instance, she cites the risk of suicide as being one of the reasons she's willing to perform this quote unquote care on minors. And this is because of depression and suicide. And she's using the world's logic here. She's using what the left use, that there's a dichotomy. Either you give these kids and you affirm a lie about them, or they commit suicide. It's one of the two. And if you deny them, transgender care, suddenly you're for transgender genocide. And this is like kind of the talking points of the left. It's not kind of the talking points of the left. It is the talking points of the left. And so really, I'm not even necessarily here to discuss the article in and of itself. I'm wanting to point out to you guys that Father James Martin, he's not just some guy who tries to take a pastoral approach to the LGBTQ community. He is somebody who is, by association, a dissenter from what the church teaches. NewWaysMinistry.org is in no way in communion with the church, even though they may be in some ways in visible communion with the church. On paper in communion with the church, they have actively dissented. There was a what do you call it? It's the Conference for the Doctrine of the Faith. They put out a letter in 1992 where they discussed pastoral care for the LGBTQ community. And it is a wonderful document. If you haven't read it, go read it. I don't know the name of the document because it's like a 2-sentence long name. And so I can't just rip it right off the top of my head. But it's from 1992. If you ask, ChatGPT or something like that, it will direct you to the document. You can read it and you're like, okay, holy based. This thing is actually very, very, very conservative and is giving good, sound advice for how to care for people in your church pastorally when they are part of the LGBTQ community. And so New Ways Ministry immediately dissented from it. And on their website, still to this day, you can find a page where they list other dissenters who are dissenting with them. They're basically just a list of responses from bishops, from priests, from LGBTQ plus organizations within the church who dissented from the doctrine. One of them, I think it was Quest. They had a link to Quest, which is an LGBTQ group that's based in the UK, who called the letter from the magisterium offensive to anybody with, a brain, basically, with half an intellect. Called it offensive. You can't call the magisterium offensive without dissenting from it. That is absolutely crazy. And so James Martin, by association, is preaching heresy. I mean, he's saying, here's some resources for you. You should read these things. If they're resources that he's pushing to you, he's telling you these things are helpful and you should read them and they're going to be a great benefit to you, which is absolutely ridiculous. And look, guys, what are we going to do about this? That's the question. Drop it in the chat if you know what we're going to do about this. I'm gonna figure out. I think it's public information, so it's not like I gotta do any like detective research. I've done that stuff before, and I found out where people are. But I'm not. I don't have to do this with Father James Martin. I'm not gonna dox the guy. I'm not gonna tell you where he lives. I'm not. I don't think I could probably find that. I'm not going to tell you what parish he serves at. I'm sure you guys can find that out for yourself. And I'm not encouraging you to do anything in relation to what parish he serves at. But I believe he serves in the Diocese of Los Angeles or San Bernardino, but my gut feeling says it's the Diocese of Los Angeles, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And so we need to be writing letters to his bishop. James Martin is not a bishop. We need to be writing letters to his bishop, and we need to let him know this is not okay. We as Catholics are not okay with this happening in our church. It's absolutely reprehensible. Why in the world is one of our Catholic priests pushing literature on us that affirms the goodness of transgender care? What world do we exist in? What is the point of being Catholic if you're just going to deny Catholic teaching? It's like the whole thing, being in communion with the Catholic Church. Why is this guy not an excommunicate? It blows my mind. I have no idea. Anyways, guys, what I wanted to also talk about is I watched a Joe Heschmeyer video recently, a few days ago, where he was talking about the recent document, the pastoral, what do you call it? The pastoral letter that Pope Leo put out to the church. And I don't want to be a doom and gloom guy. I'm not Michael Lofton. I'm not here to take up 6 hours of your time talking trash about a small, letter written by a cardinal. I'm not here to do that to you guys. I'm going to show you guys this stuff, and then we're going to move on. But I want to include something positive when I do these streams, because it's not all negative. We have hope as Catholics for our church, because our hope is not in men. Our hope is in the Holy Spirit. Our hope is in Christ. Our hope is in the Father. And we trust that God guides our church, and that the gates of hell will not prevail against it, even if sometimes the gates of hell are represented by people who are supposed to be ministering to us spiritually, people like Father James Martin. And so the recent letter he put out, I read it, and I'm not even going to pull it up on the screen. You guys are probably aware of it. And maybe if you're like a super traditional Catholic, you're not a fan of the letter, you wish it was about anything else but what it was about. But this is an issue that touches my heart. And the issue was on charity to people who are of lesser standing than us, to people who are homeless, to people who are destitute. I work at a church, and I put on we have this thing called flock notes. I'm sure some of you guys use it. I'm sure some of your parishes send you flock notes. And on the flock note, as a youth minister, the announcement that I gave, or part of the announcement that I gave, was asking people when they come to youth group if they have any blankets, or sleeping bags, because it gets pretty cold here in Colorado Springs. Bring them to youth group. Me and my wife will make sure they get passed out. Now, I'm not here to pat my own back. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, I mean, I'm a bad person. I'm not a great person. Okay, so I don't really think any of you guys should look up to me as like a role model. So, but me and my wife, we do enjoy giving food to the homeless, giving them blankets and whatnot. It's been getting cold. I mean, when I hopped on my motorcycle this morning at, 7:30 in the morning, my whole motorcycle was covered in frost. And so, I mean, these people are sleeping in like 30, 35 degrees overnight, and it sucks, and they're outside. And we should have compassion on those kinds of things, even if those people are in those situations because of poor decisions that they made. We should uphold the dignity of their personal life, whether or not they've made bad decisions. And so I invited the youth group. Let's do blankets and sleeping bags and stuff, and me and my wife will pass them out. There is, by the way, no better feeling than walking up to a homeless person who is about to spend a night in the cold and say, "Would you like a sleeping bag?" and seeing their entire demeanor change. It's like you just stuck them at a dinner table, a 3-course meal in front of them. This whole demeanor change, and there's no feeling like that. And it's good for your soul. Okay. But I had somebody email me telling me that that was a harmful announcement, and a lot of people on the street are there because it's their own fault. And there are organizations in town that help homeless people. So I should not be passing out blankets. And this person specifically said that the chances of that person turning their life around is really low, and it's not effective to give them blankets. As if the reason that I give a homeless person a blanket is because I hope that they will turn their life around. Now, don't get me wrong. I do hope, let me get rid of this on the screen. I don't want doom and gloom on the screen. I do hope that these people do turn their life around. I hope that. That would be lovely. I want nothing more than a homeless person to get a grip on his life, to walk into a Catholic church, to be confirmed, to be baptized, to take the Eucharist, to be married or become a priest and live the fullness of their life. I want that. But as a Catholic who affirms Catholic social teaching, the dignity of the person on the street is worth it in and of itself to give them a blanket. That person may never turn their life around. That person may die on the street, but you've still done well for them, or you've done good for them when you provide for their needs. I mean, Christ said that he who does this to the least of these does it to me, in reference to charity. And my question is for you is, who are the least of these? Surely somebody who is addicted to substances and on the street is the least of these, right? Like, if you're not addicted to substances and you don't have bad habits in your life, but you're on the street, surely you're not the least, even though your state in life is pretty low. Surely the person who is caught in their sin and is addicted and is living on the street, surely they're the least. And we need to make sure that we have charity in our heart for them, even if they may never turn their life around. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Some of you guys have heard this from your own parents. You know, most of the people who watch this are between the ages of 20 and 30, or 18 and 30. And the idea that you shouldn't give a homeless person food because he'll probably never turn his life around is nonsense that boomers say. So reject that garbage, submit to the Pope, take his pastoral letter and apply it to your life, because it was wonderful. Anyways, guys, let's see here. Where are we at? We're almost at 25 minutes. That's all I had to tell you guys tonight. I wanted to point this out. James Martin absolutely 100% needs to be stopped. And we're not going to stop him by sitting there waiting for the Pope to excommunicate him. I've got a feeling that's not happening anytime soon. And so write to his bishop, write letters to his bishop over and over and over. Write them. I'm also hoping to make a database of priests that are doing these kinds of things. Somebody, Divine on TikTok, his name is just Divine on TikTok. I doubt it's his real name, right? Not on his birth certificate. But he sent me a video where somebody took a recording of priests in Texas, in the Archdiocese of Texas, doing a meeting on sexuality and spirituality, and priests in that meeting were admitting freely to things like self-abuse. And there was one priest, it wasn't a video, it was an audio, who was saying that they thank God for their expression of their sexuality every single time they engage in self-abuse. That is disgusting. And so the issue, we shouldn't have horse blinders on. We shouldn't get tunnel vision, guys. The issue of sexuality in the Catholic Church, it's not just a war on straightness. It's not just a war on the Orthodox view regarding the LGBTQ community. This is a war on the church's stance on sexuality as a whole. And so hopefully I'm going to be able to make for you guys a database. Who said what diocese are they in? Where can you send a letter? What did they say? Where can you find them saying these things? I don't know how I'm going to do this database. I don't know if it's just going to be a link to a PDF I'm going to keep in my bio, or if I'm going to make a diabolically ancient website that kind of gives you all this information so I can update it live. But I want to do that for you guys. I want to do that for the good of the church. And I'm hoping that if I do that kind of thing, it will help you guys take actionable steps to improve the church in the United States. Anyways, you guys have a good night. there is hope for the church, guys, and it's Jesus Christ. It's not the Pope. It's not, your priest, and it's definitely not Father Martin. God bless.